everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Sarah Crane, the Executive Director of the Help Our Wounded Foundation. And we help people who have traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress get access to a very unique transformative therapy, which is called hyperbaric oxygen therapy. But we're very interested in brain health here in Palm Beach County. So in honor of Brain Health Awareness Week, we put together this little program. And I'm so excited today because Hillary Loftus, our Healthcare Education Director, has put together such a fabulous program. We're going to be starting it off with a PowerPoint presentation, which is going to be presented by Hillary. And then after that, we're going to be speaking with some retired NFL football players, Mark Superduper of the Miami Dolphins, and also Jeff Dellenbach, who's played with numerous teams, but also the Miami Dolphins. And after we speak with them a little bit about their experiences of concussion and seeing concussion and reporting concussion, we're going to connect with some physicians like Dr. Paul Buza, who is up in Melbourne, Florida, and Dr. Daphne Denham, who is out of Chicago, Illinois. So we are very excited for this. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment on the Facebook Live feed, and I will be writing them down so that we can ask them at the end of the seminar. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hillary. Hillary, take it away.
Good morning, Sarah and everyone. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And I am very excited to be here today and represent the Howe Foundation. I'm very excited about Brain Health Awareness Week here in South Florida. And I put together a PowerPoint on the benefits of sports for young people. And today we're going to emphasize the importance of students reporting their head hit symptoms, any head injuries they have. We want them to know what the symptoms are and to report them right away to their coaches, trainers, and parents so that they can get the help they need to continue to play sports without any negative consequences. We would like to dedicate our presentation today to some fine examples of what youth sports can do for people and how they can form adults with a lot of moral character, strength, and courage. We'd like to dedicate this webinar to Parkland's late athletic director, Chris Hickson, and football coach, Aaron Feast. They exemplify such courage and strength in protecting the health and wellness of their young students. Speaking of young students, I would like to present my credentials as a former very proud soccer mom. This is my son Patrick from his high school in Westbrook, Connecticut. And it's been a while, but here he is in his senior year with a soccer ball. He played 4 years, soccer and baseball, and he's trying to look tough. So it was great years. We had a lot of fun. It's a great way for the kids to burn off excess energy, to form friendships and camaraderie, fun for the kids, fun for the parents. He had some great coaches that he learned a lot from, all good things, I have to say. So some of the benefits of sports for youth can be found in the positive psychological, social, and emotional development that they go through as adolescents. One of the key things it does is it helps build their self-esteem and positive identity as a member of a team, identifying with their school, and all the accomplishments that they have from the skills that they learn. It teaches them the discipline and work ethic that is so important for not only that age, but in future years. They have to be at practice at a certain time. They have to do their warm-up stretches first. They have to listen to their coaches and learn from them, pay attention. And then they learn to work full out too, both in practice when they're required to and in the game. So it's something that it's a great thing to learn for the future years. And there's a lot of positive energy involved with that. Some of the other psychological benefits are it teaches them calmness in the face of adversity, which, as we all know, as adults, this comes in very handy in later life. When they're faced with an opponent on the field or in a tough situation, their coaches train them to be calm so they can think clearly and make good decisions. And another great part of this is the teamwork involved. They learn to work as a team with lots of different people from different backgrounds, and they might not actually all, have the same personalities, but they learn to work together. They're working together and they respect each other because they're working for a common goal, representing their school. And speaking of goals, they learn goal setting, which is also important in later life. Your goal might be to do how many sit-ups, or your goal might be to get the ball across the field, or to make that pass. And then, score a point, another point, and, win the game. But even in losing, there is so much that they learn. And the important thing is, getting better and better and having fun. One of the physical benefits for sports is a stronger immunity to sickness because of the development of their cardiovascular system and all that great oxygen that pumps through their bodies and their bloodstream. It's also great for weight management because they burn all those calories. And as we know, that childhood obesity and diabetes even is one of the chronic diseases affecting our country today. It also tones their muscles and strengthens their bones, which has been proven to have positive effects for years to come. Children who become strong during their youth tend to have better health as they age. It helps with efficient functioning of the heart and develops their endurance, but most of all, sports are fun. Here we have some pictures of different young people playing their sports. You can see the different skills and the camaraderie involved. Soccer, basketball, ice hockey, baseball, they're all good. And now we're going to talk a bit about the risks. Just as in anything else in life that's positive, there are also risks. But staying indoors and not participating with sports and activities carries much worse risks. So one of the risks of playing sports is concussions. What is a concussion? The Latin origin of the word concussion, concutere, means a violent agitation or shaking of the brain. And our brains are very fragile. It's like an egg yolk, sort of, jelly like an egg yolk and soft, and our skulls are a very hard shell. That is how the damage occurs when that soft egg yolk goes crashing into the hard shell. It wasn't until 22 years ago that the Congress of Neurological Surgeons in America actually defined concussion according to clinical neurosurgery in 1996. So we're learning more and more all the time, and it's a big topic right now, as everyone knows. According to the National Institutes of Health, a concussion, quote, happens when a hit to the head or body causes your head and brain to bounce around or twist in the skull, creating chemical changes in your brain. Sometimes it can also stretch and damage your brain cells. Unfortunately, due to their developing brains and immature neck musculature, young people are more vulnerable to concussions than adults. Ages 7 through 12 are more vulnerable than high school students, and high school students are more vulnerable than college students. Another interesting fact that not everybody knows is that girls are more vulnerable than boys to concussions. According to the same study, for girls, soccer is the most concussion-prone sport. Girls get more concussions in soccer than boys do. Both do, but girls get more. Basketball is second for girls, and volleyball is also up there for girls. This is because, according to some studies, that the girls have less developed neck muscles than the boys to protect their head from moving back and forth. How great is this problem of concussion, and where exactly does it occur? Something everybody's trying to find out these days. As reported by NBC4 from the Washington Convention Center in October of last year, 2017, quote, almost 2 million kids suffer concussions every year playing sports like hockey, soccer, and football. While tackle football is the most popular high school sport in America with over 1 million participants a year, wow, according to the National Federation of State High School Associations, football players are definitely not the only athletes who face risks. Football and hockey is followed by soccer, basketball, and volleyball, which is tied with cheerleading for concussion risk. In football, according to the Miami-Dade schools and University of Miami, the most concussion-prone positions are linebacker, wide receiver, offensive guard, defensive back with quarterback, and running back are tied for a number of concussions. The major problem with students and concussions is that they don't report their concussions. And concussions have cumulative negative consequences. In other words, each time they get a concussion, their chances of having problems in life, later in life, are increased. Studies actually show that more than 50% of students who get concussions do not report them to their coaches or parents or trainers. This makes it difficult for them to get the help they need to recover from the concussion and makes it more likely for the next concussion to cause more severe damage. One of the main reasons that students don't report their concussions is because they don't really know what to look for. And a lot of parents aren't sure what concussion symptoms are either, because there are quite a few of them. Concussions do not always involve a loss of consciousness, not at all. Some of the other concussion symptoms are headaches, dizziness, any nausea or vomiting, any sleep disturbances if they're having trouble sleeping or getting to sleep, any fatigue. Normally kids have a lot of energy if they seem tired. That's a symptom. Any change in their moods, feeling irritable, depressed, or tearful. Concussion affects different parts of their brains depending upon which part was injured during the incident. Other changes might be feeling unusually frustrated or impatient, being forgetful, poor concentration, and taking longer to think. The fact is that greater than 50% of student athletes do not report their concussion symptoms to their coaches or parents. And we really need to work hard to change that, to solve this problem. While 60% of 529 student athlete Canadian soccer and rugby players reported symptoms of concussion when given a questionnaire during 1 year, only 23% of the rugby players and 20% of the soccer players realized that those symptoms meant that they'd suffered a concussion. So they reported the symptoms, but they didn't connect it with a concussion. So important to pay attention to this for the adults around them and for the students to encourage other students to report these things. Of course, they may not want to report a concussion because they want to keep playing. These kids love their sport, the coaches love their sport, they want to win, and they might feel like a loser, they're letting their school or their family down if they don't report a concussion. We need to change that. They may also be afraid not to be seen by the college recruiters in order to win a scholarship for college. If they have a concussion, they can't play, so the recruiter can't see them. While they're in college, they might be afraid to lose their place on the team, or even worse, lose their entire college scholarship, since it's awarded year by year in a lot of colleges. Student athletes and their families need to really consider the injury potential and not live in fear, but they must always consider their options and learn how different schools work with this. It's something important to talk about with the coaches, the recruiters, and just really go through that process of thinking about it. High school and college are a relatively short period of time in one's entire life, and it is important to think of one's future after sports. If injured, the sooner a student tells their coach or family and gets treated, the better off everyone will be in the future. It's so much better to miss a few games than not to be able to ever play again, or even much worse than that. The good news is that sports, so many studies and professional experts have said that sports are actually safer now because of all the research and attention paid to concussions and other injuries. New protocols for head injuries during play and practice in youth, high school, college, and professional sports, based upon the past few years of research on the negative effects of cumulative concussions, have been put into play. With new training for coaches and teaching techniques like heads up, which was created by the NFL in 2012. Heads up helps players think about keeping their heads out of harm's way and hitting with their chest and shoulders, no more hitting head to head. There are other new ways of teaching youth to tackle using their shoulders rather than their heads. And all these are being studied now and also put into place. There are new rules for youth sports passed in some states that focus on reducing the number of concussions because 36% of youth players acquire multiple concussions before playing their first college game. That's a lot. This is according to new rules for youth sports are passed in some states, especially in high school and before that focus on reducing the number of concussions, because 36% of youth players have acquired multiple concussions before playing their first college game, according to health research funding. There are exercises that are focused now on building up neck musculature, no more playing tackle football until high school, limiting the amount of tackle practice to 60 or 90 hours a week, as more concussions actually happen during practices than during games. No heading the ball in soccer until high school. No checking in ice hockey until high school. At University of New Hampshire, coaches are actually having kids play without helmets in a number of practices so that the students can learn that helmets are not weapons and there are other ways to tackle besides using your head. The NFL is currently working with researchers, engineers, and technology to develop mouth guards that have sensors that will measure the speed of a hit and the exact location of the brain that's affected. We're very interested in technology and we're very supportive of this. There's also discussion of hooking players up to Oculus data scans for 5 minutes before and after every game to measure brain activity and possible damage. Very exciting. There's actually been a new blood test developed by Banyan Pharmaceuticals that can measure immediately on the field if a concussion has occurred or not. Very excited about that. As reported by NBC4, as we discussed before, in 2017, almost 2 million kids suffer concussions every year playing sports like hockey, soccer, and football. One of the solutions, and one that we're going to focus on today because it's a very well-kept secret, not that many people know about it, but it's very effective, and we have one of our celebrity football players is going to discuss it, and we have 2 physicians who are also going to discuss their treatments with hyperbarics and concussions. This is being used, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is being used successfully to rid athletes of concussions. Mark Duper, former Miami Dolphin, sustained a number of concussions that left him with symptoms many years after he had retired as a very successful wide receiver. He and his wonderful wife Carolyn are beloved ambassadors here at the Howe Foundation, and he's been treated successfully for his concussion. I'd like to finish this presentation with a quote from an article in 2014 written by healthresearchfunding.org. Quote, "The only problem is that Americans are often bred with a win at all costs attitude. Players are made to feel like they are letting down the team when they get injured. This causes them to want to go back into a game and play hurt, because if they don't do it, then they feel like they are betraying everyone who is important to them. By changing the culture of youth football and other sports, changes in how concussions are addressed in practices and games can become possible, end quote. In conclusion, youth sport coaches, trainers, and parents have a lot of responsibility on their plates. The good news is they also have a huge opportunity to make a difference in the quality of lives of their student athletes for the future.